Welcome back, guys. Today we are going to talk about GTO versus reality. Basically, this is just to keep you as players in check on your goals and your intentions. We want to let you know that real people do not play like solvers. It's very easy these days to start relying on these pieces of software to give you a strategy. And to go back to what we talked about at the very beginning of the course, remember, guys, if you are playing GTO, you are not going to be making money, all right? You're going to be breaking even. That is the point of GTO. It is a Nash equilibrium that keeps you defended against other optimal players. So if you are in a player pool where everyone is playing optimally, forcing you to play GTO, you should ask yourself why you're sitting in that game. Because the expectation is that you make zero money. If you're playing a raked game, like basically all online platforms, your expectation is that you will lose money because the site charges you a rake, right? So you have to find exploits to take advantage of people in order to profit in poker. And the good news is, since humans do not play perfect, you will be able to always find exploits, especially at the micro stakes where professionals do not play at. You are going to find regs. You are going to find people who are studying the game just like you. But I assure you, the micros are beatable. You can beat them for really solid win rates simply because those stakes don't offer anyone the incentive to make a living off of, so there are not going to be professional players there. All right, you are going to find lots and lots and lots of fish. All right, I'd like to share something with you, and what you are looking at here are the statistics for the player pool at I guess you could call mid stakes. This is for 200 no limit. Break down the slide for you, but really important, this is not hero. So this is everyone in the player pool except for the actual player, all right? And the key takeaway, even though this is from a higher stake, this is a data set that I have access to. Look, they are still losing at over 9 bigs per 100 hands. All right, so that means that there are areas to find exploits. All right, and you are going to use software to help dig into this stuff. All right, so the more you can study your player pool, the better you will be. This is a direct continuation from what we talked in last episode, where we looked at betting lines across all streets and we were filtering our hand histories to see the ranges that people take different lines with, right? Whereas this, we are going to be looking at just the overall statistics for a player pool. Keep in mind, fish are going to be playing different than regs. If you have software like Hand to Note, you can actually separate fish from the regs based on the VPIP and PFR stats those players give. But that's a little bit more advanced. I'm going to show you how you guys can do some analysis on your player pool using just Poker Tracker, which is what we have here. Any single database management program will offer similar statistics as this, and basically it'll help you narrow down errors all across from preflop to the river. And obviously, since preflop is like the perfect strategy is revealed in starting charts, a lot of good and not so good players have access to it. So perfect play is most easily achieved preflop. Gets a little bit harder on the flop, more hard on the turn, and even more difficult on the river. So your biggest exploits, expect them to come at the end, but when you're playing against fish, you will see that pre-flop, they're making a lot of errors. That's how you can identify them as fish right away, because their pre-flop stats will not look like yours. Regs on average, across all positions, play somewhere about 25% of their hands, and they're usually coming in first with a raise. So whenever you see someone V-pipping or playing pre-flop more than like 30% of their hands, you already know they're a fish. And when they're being passive pre-flop by not putting in that PFR, that pre-flop raise, that also lets you know they're a fish, right? So you want to adjust pre-flop to fish for sure, right? If they're going to be playing too wide and not folding to a lot of 3-bets, right? You're just going to open up your pre-flop ranges a little bit, especially when you are in position. You're going to 3-bet them for value a lot. You're going to increase your pre-flop sizings because they are still going to call with the same hands, and you're going to have an easy time playing against them because they're not that good. This is more advanced stuff once you really want to get your win rate up against the whole player pool, which includes regs. You're going to do steady like this. So we have people's stats broken down by position, right? So we can look at their raise first in percentages, and they are more or less in line with GTO stuff. You can see how often people are 3-betting pre-flop. Looks like this player pool 3-bets kind of a lot from early. You can see how often they will open raise and then call a 3-bet, right? That'll let you know if you can get a little bit more aggressive with your 3-betting. If they're folding a lot, you can 3-bet as a bluff a whole lot more. You can see how often they c-bet the flop, which obviously lets you know if they're overdoing it or if they're underdoing it. If you want to consult a solver and see how often it recommends, you can look at aggregate reports, right? And you can compare c-bet percentages from your player pool versus what's optimal. And then guess what? If they are c-betting too much, that means they are over bluffing. So you can counteract that more by turning more hands either into bluff catchers or check raising them a lot. Because if they have a lot of bluffs in their range, the natural counter with your bluffs is to re-raise to get them to fold, and the natural counter with hands that have showdown values to let them keep on bluffing, and call more with hands that maybe you actually would take more aggressive actions with, right? You can see their c-bet turn percentages, their c-bet river percentages, their equity when they go all in, how often they call flop c-bets in position, out of position. All of these great stats are available to you in your tracking software. So if you do this research, you will see people do not play GTO. So that means that you are incentivized to exploit as much as you can. That's really the main takeaway, is that there is money to be made in online poker if you focus on exploitative play, and you don't need to memorize a whole lot of solver outputs to do that. You know, if you do basic range analysis with an equity calculator, or preferably a range or flop visualizer like Poker Cruncher or Flopzilla, you will be able to make a lot of money. Let me show you how you can make a report like this in Poker Tracker. Let's just... You're going to go to this, right? I'm just call this example report. This is how you start, because at first when you go to my reports up here, you're going to see absolutely nothing. So go ahead and make a new report. This is going to be example report, and it is going to be an all players report. All right, and you can add common stats to begin with, but I'm going to uncheck this just so you see what it looks like. I'm going to click finish, and I think right now it is pulling up a whole lot of random players because this is from Ignition, which is an anonymous site. It might be taking a while because I'm also recording a video, which is taking up some processing power, but we can go on and I'll show you the next steps. I don't want to see player in there. So first thing that I had in there, I had it broken down by position. So here in your available stats, you are going to be able to find that, I don't know where position is, maybe under results, but there's also a search feature. So I'm just going to put position in there. I'm going to, there we go. All right, it was trying to pull up too many players, but that's how I got the positions in there, right? Then you can look up VPIP. Oop. Not sure why that didn't pop up, but there you go. Once that's in, you will see how much everyone is VPIPing from each position. You can see pre-flop raises. And remember, right off the bat, it's going to include you in the all players. And you want to exclude yourself because you're just studying the player pool. So I believe if we scroll down here, oh, see, I already had the not hero filter active here. You can find that by going to, I believe it was hand details, player is hero, and just hit that to on, add it to your filter, and then click on it and hit not. And that's how you get that. So this is everybody except for us. And the point is, in this section, there are all sorts of statistics that you can look up for the entire player pool. All right. There are all sorts of flop statistics, how they bet, how they donk. Obviously, fish are going to donk a whole lot more. So if you want to kind of like see how often that's happening and what hands they're doing it with, that's a very useful exercise that you can filter for later. You can see how often they c-bet, right? Obviously, c-bet turns, all those statistics that we saw earlier, you are going to find right here. When you add them to the report, it's going to populate right there. The other useful thing that you can do, let me just go back to the other one that had everything filled in. You can filter by board type, by board texture, which is very, very important. Because like we were saying, people are going to take different lines on, or use different hand strengths to take the same line on different types of flops, right? So for example, you can look at cards where a straight is possible, or where it's not. This is how you would look at like dry or wet flops. And basically just kind of like break down how people are approaching the game dependent on the flop. Obviously, you could spend days and days doing this, and the better you want to be, the more you will. Essentially, all I wanted to demonstrate is how you can find deviations in human play from solver play using your software, right? If you're watching this, odds are you do not have a huge sample size to really dig into this, but take our word from it. There are a lot of losing players, especially at the micro stakes. So as long as you focus on an exploitative game built around the pot odds model, you are going to profit. So yeah, do your homework, study the game, study board textures, study the player pool. You are going to get there. We promise you. So thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
Download it for free at JurojinPoker.com.